My name's Ryan Lay, and I'm from Tempe, Arizona. My sponsors are Welcome Skateboards, Etnies, Altamont, Pyramid Country, Crux Trucks, and CCS. Ooh, favorite trick. Um, Maybe just a nollie flip. Just a nice nollie flip.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and work on that. But yeah,
Only because I have really bad kick flips.
yeah.
Favorite skater, Keenan Milton. Is usually he was like my favorite skater growing up, and I think because he passed away when I was like at the prime age, he never like ruined himself for me. Not that he would have, but you know how that happens when you get older. You're like, I used to like that guy, and now he yells at people on social media. How did I get into skating? I got into skating like most people through just my brother and the neighborhood kids. My older brother skated, and I just wanted to be like him. And he had a board, and I think it was a Zoo York board, and so we started skating that way, just sharing the board. And I think my first board was a CCS blank that we ordered out of the catalog, which is funny that I ride for CCS now, but kind of came full circle. But I remember it was all blue with black wheels, and I don't think I've had black wheels since that first setup. I was first paid to skate by iPath, and that was when I was like 22. I think, yeah, maybe 21 or 22. And yeah, it was for like a pretty small amount of money, but it was cool. It was awesome. Feels like a dream come true, even if you're just getting a little bit, you know?
Are they still around?
iPath is not around. No, they sold the company and everyone left. Some people got kicked off and some people left. They actually might be around in some form. I don't know. The way that licensing works is that like it seems like companies die, but then someone will just buy the logo and they'll buy the brand that's just like a shell, and then it's like suddenly they're like it's like you'll see iPath flip flops like pop up, and you're like, oh okay. I think it's probably about the same. I feel like there's more skaters, but because there's more skaters, the pool is bigger, and uh, like I think that the pie has just grown. Like there's more skaters and there's more really good skaters, but there's also just way more companies, you know. So skate after school was something that I got involved in 4 years ago, and it was kind of just a community project that my friend Tim Ward was doing. He was just building old boards and donating them to a community center. And that quickly turned into like, well, the kids don't know how to skate, so they need someone to teach them. So he was going there occasionally to teach them how to skate. And then I got involved, and Tim was actually living in Portland, and we had a friend who was a PE coach at an elementary school in South Phoenix, and I guess Central Phoenix, Crockett Elementary. And he was just like, hey, if you guys want to try and run this as like an after school program, we could do that. And so we started, piloted our program there, and from there we kind of like saw a lot of momentum and decided that we were going to turn it into a nonprofit. So got all the documents in order, and we went through a business training program called Seed Spot. Call himself a venture incubator, but it's basically like business school, and got some grants from that, and that was really great. And it was kind of like, all right, wow, all right, let's do this, you know.
Very cool. So is it all the kids from that school, or do you get kids from like other schools?
So we started out in just that one school, and then we grew to a few more schools, and now we're in 8 schools. So it's Monday through Friday, and we have a couple on the same days. So on Friday we have a few programs, and yeah. The thing that inspired me was that well, one, I was having a lot of trouble with skating, and I just, I don't know. I think that like most people, you kind of reach this point in like your mid 20s where you're like, all right, I need to do something productive with your life, because you have this period where you're like, you know, you might take time off school, and then you're just like, all right, I'm a guy who's like 25 who doesn't really have much to offer. This is kind of sad. And I was going back to community college, which was, you know, like you mentioned, you might wait to go to community college, but you probably shouldn't, because, you know, you'll just be like, why didn't I do this earlier? Um, and there are alternative routes that you can take, but for me, I just really needed something to like dive into that was not skate related, even though there's a skateboarding component to it, but like the part that I was doing didn't relate to that. And it was just fun to have like a project to work on. And so I didn't think that it would come to the place that it's at now, or grow to the place that it's at now. But um, yeah, so that was kind of the reason. I mean, I was taking classes at community college and kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to major in. I ended up majoring in public administration, which ties in a little bit with skate after school. And yeah, it's just nice to have. It's super nice, even now, being a pro skateboarder, having something else to focus on outside of skating because you get really sick of anything when you do it too much. You know, I mean, you just get burnt out and you get hurt and whatever. It's like, I don't know, you can only binge watch so many Netflix shows before you just like want to lose your mind.
What about like, are you just kind of seeing where it goes, or like, do you have any?
I mean, I think we're just going to continue to grow it. I mean, the idea is that we can capture most of the low-income elementary schools in the valley, which there are a lot, like several hundred. Now we're at 8. I think that, or maybe there's not several hundred. I have that written down somewhere, but the idea is that we capture all of those low-income elementary schools, and then maybe from there we expand out of the state. We just got an office in October, so that was like a moment where we're like, wow, we're like, in a lot of ways, you feel like you're playing adult, and then you're like, oh, we are adult. Like Tim jokingly the other day was telling me that, like, or not jokingly, but he was telling me the other day how funny it was that he was like interviewing service learning volunteers at our office, and it felt like he was like playing a role. But I was like, yeah, but you just play the role until you are the role. Like you fit into that role. So yeah. When I got involved, I don't know, I felt like they were doing something different, and I liked the graphics a lot. I liked the team at the time. It's a little different now. I like the team now also, and I've had a big hand in that. I just, yeah, I don't know. I really liked the graphics a lot. I thought that they were offering something that wasn't available in skating currently. I think that a lot of people were just ready for all of the new companies that were coming. A lot of the companies that were like the heritage or legacy brands had become so watered down that it was like, give me something new. I see that you have a Create sweater. It's just like, it's cool that there's young people that are doing new stuff, and I don't know, you want to get on board and see where it goes. So that's kind of why I got involved. Ooh, that is actually a good question. I think that the skate industry is going to continue to grow, and I think that everyone feels that way, especially with it going into the Olympics. I think that probably what will happen is it's going to become increasingly polarized, where you've got like two factions of skating, and there's like people on the Olympic end, and then there's people on the like really urban street skating end, or just doing something radically different. I'm not really sure. I kind of, I kind of feel like I'm just along for the ride. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question, but I could see myself getting more involved on both sides of it, the spectrum. Like I would skate after school. I want to get really involved more so in like that's like the foundation of skateboarding, like the next generation. And I don't really care if those kids skate or not, but it's really fun to like show them skating outside of like there's no industry involvement whatsoever. And I think that I talk about this a lot, but one of the weird things I think about skateboarding now is that people get really into skate culture because of the internet before they know how to skateboard, and because it's just so accessible. So it's like you just have kids that like don't really know how to skate, or like haven't really skated, but they're already, I mean, you see this all the time. There's kids who dress like skaters at school, but they don't even skate ever. And so it's cool with skate after school. We kind of have the opposite, where we've got kids who are like maybe don't have access to the internet at their fingertips, and so they skate for years before they're like, oh, you're a pro skater, or like, oh, there's a skate industry in general. Like they kind of just view it as like this hobby that they like a lot, and they don't see that there's a culture behind it. It's good because there's more skaters getting paid, and there's more money for skaters, and It also just, more parks. And I mean, if you can believe it, when I grew up skating here, the only skate park was at Desert West. So it was like, how far we've come now, where there's just like a park in every city in the valley, is pretty remarkable. And they're all like phenomenal skate parks. So it's pretty rad. Aside from Phoenix, they just have been left in the dust. But soon they'll have one. And I don't really know what my role will be in that, but I'm kind of just along for the ride. I think that, it'll be interesting, and I might want to do more in skating, or I may just get really burnt out and just want to do something totally outside of it so that it stays. Because the downside to working in an industry that you're super passionate about is that it, uh, you could tend to get burned out really quickly. And when you work in an industry that's not part of your passion, then you can go skate on the weekends and really enjoy yourself, and kind of you're a little more removed, and I think there's some value to that. I have a lot of friends who just like totally left skating and now they go skate, and it's just like this really pure thing. And there's no like industry side of it. There's no, there's no weight on their shoulders.
So, what are some wise words you have for other people not trying to not just follow their dreams but also find their dreams?
Just do stuff and get your hands dirty. It's funny, I think about this stuff so much, and I feel like I talk to younger kids all the time, and I, in real time, recognize that I sound like this is how I'm getting old, is that I'm like repeating tropes that everyone hears, but there's so much value in just like experimenting and just doing stuff and staying really connected with friends. And I think I listened to this interview with Malcolm Gladwell, and he was just saying that like a good college education is like, it has nothing to do with the university. It's as valuable as the really in-depth talks you have with good friends. So if that means that like you're not even going to school, but you like have really good friends that you're just like figuring out life with until 3 a.m. on a weekday, that's what you get. That's the experience that like you get out of college, because they force you to have those experiences. But if you, there's other ways to kind of cultivate that. So, I don't know. I definitely spent like a few years, I went straight to college right out of high school and was like super immersed in school, and then decided I want to be a skater. And I kind of always had this thought that like, if I was skating, I couldn't do anything else. And then eventually, over like 4 brutal years, realized that I was like, I kind of just like spent that time not really doing much. I like talked with friends and hung out, but I really wish I had done other stuff. And there's so much time for skating, even for someone who's like pursuing a career in skating. Like I feel like I'll meet kids who are like, I'm like hooked up at this company or whatever. I'm just going to like drop out of college. And I'm like, why? So that you can skate 12 hours a day? No one does that, So, I don't know. I'm at the age now, because I'm like at the tail end of my 20s, and it's really awesome. Like the friends I had that pursued some goal, like they've kind of like got there. Like I have friends who work in Hollywood, who work in film and didn't go to school at all. I have friends that own businesses. I've got friends who have master's degrees, and it's just awesome. And all of them are kind of united. We're all united through skating and our love for skating, but it's just really cool that they like just experimented and kind of figured out what worked for them, and just put yourself out of your comfort zone. That's all like the thing that I have to say, is that there's nothing worse for you than just being like, I'm just gonna stay at my parents' house because it's comfortable, and like I just want to like do my thing, and your thing is just like skating the park like you always did, and you're just like not pushing yourself in any way. Like if you want to just not go to school and work a service industry job, move to a new city and do that. Like you can move to Seattle or Portland or New York or San Francisco, and you can work at a coffee shop there, and you'll get that whole experience and then move on. There's not one way to do it, but you're not going to get anywhere if you don't have experiences, so.
Cool. That's about it, but like.
It's kind of long-winded. Sorry about that.
No, it's good. Good content. Yeah. I've heard like some like interview with pro skater or something where they're like, yeah, if like you don't even like think that you might be a pro. You have to be like a pro. You have to go for it hard, and like,
Yeah.
is that true for you? Or
I think that I don't know. You're saying that like you just have to like drop everything and pursue that one thing, kind of.
well, like more like if you're not like in your mind that you're 100% gonna be a pro, you're not gonna be a pro.
Yeah, I think there's some value to that. I also just feel like part of what makes I don't really know. I don't feel like I'm an exemplary pro, but I just will say that like I feel like a lot of people in skating who have only pursued skating, it's like one, they don't have a life that is dynamic, like everything just is surrounded with skating, which seems kind of crazy. And then when that doesn't work out for them, it's like the sky is falling, you know, in the same way that it would in any sport. So I don't know. I just feel like that's other stuff like adds so much value and purpose to your life and like removes some of the pressure from skating, you know what I mean? Like I definitely have known in my life currently that like or I've seen in my life recently that I'm like way less I have like a pressure removed because I am not so 100% focused on skating, which is really great because when I go out, I'm not just like, I don't know, when you go out and you're skating and you're just like, I gotta film this crazy video part, I gotta do like the best trick ever, and then you don't, and you're just so let down emotionally. Like, I'm just kind of like, well, I have other things that I care about and that are equally scary or that are equally tough, and I'll just focus on those things, you know? But, I don't know. It also seems like kind of a hard time to be pursuing being a pro skater. I guess you didn't really ask that, but like one thing that's really interesting right now that we are dealing with at Welcome and a lot of companies are dealing with this is that all of the shoe companies are getting eaten up and we used to live in this world where and the clothing companies as well. They used to live in this world where there were tons of shoe companies and tons of clothing companies and now there's like 5 and all of the shoe companies have clothing companies, so it's like there's no point in, you know, like it's like everyone just wears like Huff, Nike, Adidas, Converse, and Vans, and there's like a handful of other companies, you know, like I read for Etnies, and but it's just really hard because there's no place for anyone. It's like you're either gonna get on Nike or Adidas and you're gonna make a ton of money, or you're just like a skater who can't even afford to pay rent. And then it's like, are you a pro skater? You know, there are a lot of pro skaters who just work jobs. They have a name on they have their name on a board, and they just are like guys who work at a coffee shop or they drive Uber or something, you know, which is fine. But I'm just saying, like the industry's changing in the same way that a lot of industries have. Like there's no room for like middle class anymore. It's like you're making like 6 figures or you're like making 10 grand a year and you just have to work a job or do something else. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of tough. I feel like I'm part of like the last generation of skaters that's able to, yeah, and maybe that'll change. Like maybe all of those companies will get eaten up by the big companies and then suddenly people will be over it and they're just going to be like, oh, we want something new. And all these people will be inspired to start their own shoe companies and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see though. It seems kind of crazy. Like I would not feel comfortable if I was like pursuing a career in skating right now. Definitely. Like there's a lot of board companies and that's really rad, but that's because boards are really easy to make and they're all the same. Like they're all just made at like the same warehouses, but just put different logos on them and they're marketed in different ways. But with shoes, it's so hard to make really good shoes. And you're so like the minimums are so high and you have to compete with these companies like Nike that they just have like whole, you know, rooms that are dedicated just to the technology that they put in their shoes. And when you're a kid who pays for shoes, you notice that stuff. You know, like you've probably bought a pair of shoes where you're like, this is just terrible. And then like you put on something else and you're just like, wow, these are great. And if you're going to spend like $60-$80, you're going to get the shoes that are great. You're not going to get the shoes that are like, well, I'm supporting skating. You're going to be like, I need something that's comfy and like looks good, you know? So